Yeah.
How about a new one, Steph?
That's right. Little bits of Raphael in that moisture. And now we have Invest 99L. 90% chance of developing over the next 2 days. And it is going to linger in the Caribbean through the weekend and until the beginning of next week, and then heads towards Florida. As it's developing and it's raining out, it's not really moving. It is going to drop a tremendous amount of rainfall here to Central America. Honduras, Nicaragua could get hit really hard with the rainfall there. There's your invest. And then as it moves west, there's nothing really to steer it, to push it and pull it. These don't have a mind of their own. They are directed by what's happening around them in the atmosphere, and they're impacted by what's happening around them in the atmosphere. So once this gets that push to the west, goes around the periphery of that high, we also have a boundary that's coming in from the north. It'll get squeeze play between the two of those, both models trending at this heading up towards the Gulf of Mexico and that potential to hit Florida. We don't have a well-defined center. This is a model here. So you go from a tropical wave to a tropical depression to a tropical storm, and then so on and so forth. And it gets its name when it becomes a tropical storm. So there are the clouds, and we just don't see any good well-defined swirl within those clouds where the National Hurricane Center says that there is going to be development. Plenty of warm water for it to go over, low shear as well here in this environment. So that's why it's anticipated to intensify and go around the periphery of this high pressure. As it does that, it will eventually get into the Gulf of Mexico. And notice that is our next boundary. And that's going to be the squeeze play between the two systems. But where exactly does it go? It is still too early to tell. As you have this trough coming in and then that ridge off to the east, it's going to get pushed and pulled in between those two systems. And as it goes farther north, it could be impacted potentially by some more shear. There's your circulation. I want you to notice how long it stays down here. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, it eventually gets up towards the Yucatan. Tuesday off of it, and it is screaming east. So if this comes ashore, I'm just saying as a Cat 2, I'm not saying it's going to happen. But if it comes ashore as a Cat 2 on the west coast, it is going to be there in the morning and on the east coast by the afternoon. And because it's going to be moving quickly, you could have a large stretch of damage across the state. The the GFS also has this down in the Caribbean Saturday, Sunday. That they are, you wouldn't think at the end of November, which we, listen, hurricane season goes to November 30th. But it is quite rare to get storms this late in the season. Though they have happened before, it's on the rare side. In fact, you can get them past November 30th when the season ends. We could use some of that moisture here into the northeast. We have red flag warnings posted. That means low humidity and breezy conditions. And so that helps spread fires obviously much quicker. And if they start, then that can help get them quite big, quite fast. 200 plus acres. Each one of these fires is 200 plus acres. And 1 acre is the size of a football field without the end zones. About that. It's the best way to visualize it. So imagine 200 football fields for each and every one of these fires, at least, and some of them are much bigger than that. Not something you see every day in the Northeast, dotted with fires like that, the landscape. This is the water vapor, and this shows us what's happening in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere. And we always talk about how the atmosphere is like a hamburger. You have your hamburger bun, you have tomato, you have onion, then you have your top bun. Say it again.
Eggs, avocado, bacon.
Is that what you put on yours?
Oh, gosh, yes.
But if it's all dried out, you got a rotten avocado, you got dried out, bacon and meat. It's no good. And that's what's happening in the atmosphere. This red is the dry air. That's showing us, when bread is like so dried out, you make croutons out of it. That's what's happening in the mid to upper levels and even down to the surface of our hamburger as well. So the whole thing is dried out and you can barely chew and swallow it because it's just so dry. One of the reasons it's like that in the Northeast is because we have a northerly wind. That's wind coming off the land, so it's drier. If you had it coming off the water, it brings in some of that moisture. The other thing is we have high pressure and you have subsidence under a high pressure, so you don't get any storms to grow. Notice how breezy it is in Nantucket, Boston, Montauk, but even inland, Poughkeepsie to 23, New York gusting to 22. Is going to make for some bumpy travel here, by the way, the turbulence. But all of that dryness and that wind is so bad for fires if they start. And notice, too, the smoke from some of these fires, you're going to feel that across the Northeast because there's no rain to take it out of the atmosphere. Critical fire is still across the megalopolis here from Rhode Island all the way down into Maryland. And our relative humidity is quite low, and it gets low as we go throughout the day because in the morning your temperature and your dew point are closer together. You have higher humidity. And through the day that temperature gets a little bit higher. And so that's why we drop down into the 20s for our relative humidity. There is moisture that comes into play into our Thursday as the system approaches, but it doesn't really bring us a lot of rain. Very measly rain, if that. We'll take a little bump in the relative humidity, but we're going to need a lot more to help out the firefighters. The drought, this is going back to September 1st. It just got worse and bigger here throughout the last several months, giving us extreme drought into New Jersey. That's a record, actually, for the highest amount since they started record keeping in 2002. And notice all the fires where you see the drought, especially into West Virginia. We have several burning there and very little rain over the next 7 days. I mean, spits of it, which we'll take, but it's still just not great. Look at New York. I mean, it is sunshine across the board, which means more evaporation, by the way, and drier conditions. This, of course, long-running drought has helped set the stage for some of the worst firefights in recent memory in the Northeast. National correspondent Justin Michaels has the latest. Yes, we have Invest 99L, 90% chance of this developing over the next couple of days, going from tropical wave to tropical depression to a tropical storm. When this becomes a tropical storm, we'll get the name Sarah, by the way. The development has it happening in the Caribbean over the next 2 days and bringing tremendous rainfall to Honduras and Nicaragua. I'm talking double-digit rainfall. This could be absolutely catastrophic for Central America. And there's nothing to push and pull it over the next few days. So it just hangs right in this vicinity off the coast of Honduras and then eventually is going to be moving northbound. The European has it coming north and then having that hook over Florida. The same with the GFS. The question is, does it go much farther north? Does it go in the Florida Straits? Does it go in the Keys? Does it go in Naples? Does it go up towards Cedar Key? Still too early to tell. This right now is just a cluster of thunderstorms, and we don't have a low-level circulation yet, but we'll see as we go over the next few days. Perhaps one will develop, but there's really nothing to stop this from developing. It's in very warm water. It's in low shear as well. You can see how warm it is. And by the way, when it gets to the Yucatan, does it go over the Yucatan? Does it go in between Mexico and Cuba and stay in this warm water? And then it's going very fast once it blows through that vicinity. There's really no shear for this to contend with as well. High pressure is going to be moving east, and that's going to help the storm go around the periphery of it. And then notice we have a trough coming in as well. So there's going to be kind of a squeeze play in between these two systems. And that's why we're thinking Florida has a decent chance of getting hit by this. And as I mentioned, it's going to be going quite fast. It'll be a week from today when we potentially see the impacts. Could be a Wednesday morning landfall on the West Coast and then a Wednesday after.